Hello, 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 beautiful badasses. Welcome to the Magic is in You podcast. I'm so stoked you're here today. The Magic in You has been designed to help you tune in, tap, and turn on the magic, the light, the empowerment, the confidence, and the love that is already within inside of you. Everything that we desire to create in our life starts with us. This real superpower to creating what we desire in our life, to creating the impact, to creating the influence, to creating the freedom that we desire in our life, the abundance, the love, the bliss, the peace in our life starts with us. The magic is inside of you. My name is Kelsey Holmes, and I am a life and mindset coach, empowering growth-seeking women to truly cultivate the magic that is already within inside them, to empower themselves, to tap into that source of confidence, that source of inner power, so that they can go out and create a life that they are wildly passionate about, a life that they are excited to wake up in the morning and start their day, a life that they don't have to run away from on a vacation, but get to enjoy the vacation because they have built a life that supports them, right? And I am so stoked today. Today is episode number 4 of the Magic is in You podcast. I am so excited. And I'm just so grateful that you are here. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey as I am embarking on this brand new journey, just the first couple baby steps on this epic journey that I picture for this podcast, that I'm dreaming for this podcast, the amount of growth and expansion that's going to happen, not just for me, but for you and for everybody else who gets to listen to this podcast. And then from that, the little ripple effect that is created from there is just profound. And this all starts with one step, right? So oftentimes we underestimate the power of just one step. And this is kind of what we're going to chat a little bit about today, because I was in a coaching call with one of my clients the other day, and she was at this crossroads where she is working on kind of wrapping up some big projects. And then this is going to help her transition into her next phase of her career. And she was trying to figure out and trying to decide how to progress, right? And she's in this kind of like state of the indecision, right? The in-between, the scary unknown of the future and the not quite feeling good enough for what's coming next. And part of this is we get to take a minute to breathe, right? When we get into that like kind of like overthinking, overwhelmed moment, then all of a sudden our nervous system gets into this fight or flight, which does us no good. So first off, we get to start by breathing, right? And taking a moment to come back to the present, to the here and now, and remember that we get to take this next journey, this next adventure, this next experience in our life, one step at a time. And sometimes clients will come back to me and be like, yeah, but I don't know what the next step is. And I don't know is the biggest cock block to your dreams ever. The words, I don't know. Because truly, deep down, you do know. I'm calling bullshit on it because I know how much I, in the past, have said those words, I don't know. And truly, every single time I said that, I don't know, I really knew deep down inside. If I took a moment to just tune in to myself for just like even 2 seconds, I would know the truth of what I really wanted, or of what the decision that I really desired would be. But it's so easy to just use I don't know as a scapegoat, because I don't know is sometimes easier to say than what we truly do know, what we truly do want, what we truly do desire. Why do you think I know this? Personal experience. Let me tell you. Sometimes saying the words I don't know allow us to get out of an uncomfortable situation in conversation with another person. Or sometimes the words I don't know allow us to stay in that indecision of not sure where to go next, because the next spot is the unknown. It's scary. What if all of this stuff, maybe I don't feel good enough, maybe I don't feel like worthy enough, maybe I don't feel like I know enough, I'm smart enough, this or that, right? That unknown, that I don't know, allows us to stay in this kind of like perpetual roundabout. But if we are allowing ourselves to take even just like the babyest step next, rather than saying, I don't know, take a minute to soothe your feelings, figure out where you're at, allow that like need or desire to say, I don't know, to come up, allow it to kind of fizzle out, and then just take a breath and tune in to what you really do know. What do you know about this next step? And just because you tune in and learn what you truly do know doesn't mean that you actually have to take action on it. So we get to soothe our feelings of this like, oh, but I don't want to know because that means I have to take action on it. We get to soothe that. We get to come back to the present moment and just be curious. What if I did know? And if you really are still in that stuck of, I don't know yet, what if you did know? This question, what if I did know, rather than I don't know, allowed me to play with a little bit of curiosity of what would I maybe want, what would I maybe be curious about. And all of a sudden, as you start to explore, as you start to kind of dissect and dive into the curiosity state, rather than the, oh, if I do know, then it means I have to do the thing right now. Maybe just allow yourself a little bit of curiosity, allow yourself a little bit of detachment so that you can explore what you might want. This is a practice that really helps us exploring in these, I don't know, indecisive moments of life or transitions where we're really not sure. And when we get curious about it, there's another step that we can go a little bit further to explore this possibility of what could be. You might be hearing Togi in the background right now. Just ignore him. He's a little bit loud. My sweet little baby boy, my rescue dog there. Anyway. Oh, the I don't know. So get curious about it. If you did know, what are 2, maybe 3 possibilities of what you could do, what next step you could take, what action you could start to get a little bit curious about with, like start the train moving a little bit. And if you just take a moment to sit with yourself and imagine, daydream a little bit, allow yourself to explore these curiosity possibilities, and then imagine these curiosity possibilities in a very specific way, not just in this like, oh, worst case scenario, it might end up like this, but what if it's like the best case scenario? For example, if you have 2 roads you could go down in life or on a drive that you're exploring some new area or something, if you have 2 roads you could go down and you imagine that each of these roads in life, for example, would be like the best possible thing. For example, if you decided to pursue this new business idea and you could picture it as the best possible outcome it could possibly be, and really like lean into that. Think about how your days would look. Think about how your weeks would look. Allow the flow, allow the daydream to expand from there in the best possible case scenario. Then think about business B, we'll call it business A and business B. If you have another opportunity or a different opportunity that you're exploring to start a new business, perhaps you allow yourself to think about best case scenario for business B possibility. Allow yourself to explore again what your life would look like, what the day would look like, what the week would look like, what your calendar would look like, what your impact would look like in both business A or business B. This could be different things too. This could be in relationships, either pursuing a relationship or choosing to move on in the relationship. Imagine both scenarios looking the absolute best they could possibly be, like knowing that you would be joyful, abundant, blissful in both scenarios. And when you kind of allow yourself to daydream and imagine these different scenarios of these different possibilities in life, all of a sudden you notice kind of maybe even leaning towards one direction or the other. And I find this exercise super helpful in getting me out of the indecision, because the indecision is where it's like our feet are sinking in fucking quicksand. When we sit in indecision, it's literally like the longer we sit there, the more our feet sink into the quicksand. And before we know it, we're up to our ankles in quicksand. And all of a sudden it feels like a little bit harder to move. And then all of a sudden we're sunk up to our knees in quicksand, and it becomes really hard to move. All of a sudden we realize we're up to our waist in quicksand and we're stuck where we've been for so long without taking momentum or creating momentum, without taking steps towards creating where we want to go, because we've been stuck in indecision. So knowing that no matter what decision we make in life, it's going to lead to a beautiful journey, a beautiful adventure, a beautiful, new, blissful adventure because you are there, right? When we remember that the magic is inside of us, and no matter which direction we choose to go in life, we take us with us. So we get to come back to this foundation of knowing ourselves, loving ourselves, trusting ourselves, growing ourselves, so that no matter what direction you choose to go in life, you bring yourself with you. You bring the magic sauce to that new adventure. You bring the magic light to that new blissful relationship. You bring the magic to your next journey in life. And remembering that there's truly no wrong decision, because each decision, like I said, will lead to something. And sometimes it feels like an immediate fuck yeah, and sometimes it feels like an immediate like what the fuck. But both of those decisions lead to something else. Well, let me share a little story about this. Why sometimes life throws us curveballs, right? So back in 2020, I was faced with a decision whether to close my massage therapy practice for good or to reopen in a new location. During the pandemic, I obviously closed my doors just like everybody once upon a time, right? And because I closed my doors for a while, I took a break from massage. And because of that, I hadn't actually taken a break from massaging since I started as a massage therapist 7 years prior. And because of that, when I sat down during the pandemic, I was learning rapid transformational therapy because I had realized that my hands, a few months prior to the pandemic starting, my hands had really started to feel more sore on a more regular basis and just feeling kind of tired. And so because of that, because my hands started to feel pre-pandemic feel kind of shitty and crappy and not super great all the time as I was working. Because of that, I had signed up to train as a rapid transformational therapist because I desired to still continue to help people. I knew that massage wouldn't be a forever thing for me. I was loving it. I had my own thriving practice. I really loved my studio space. I loved all of my clients. I was booked out for a month in advance and just loved what I did. But I knew that it wouldn't be a 10-year plus long career at that point, or an additional 10 years at that point for my body's sake. So I started training as a rapid transformational therapist. And then when the world shut down and I had to close my massage doors for what I thought would be 2 weeks initially, it ended up being permanent, like I mentioned earlier. But during that time, I was ferociously training as a rapid transformational therapist. Nate, my husband, was still going to work at his job at that point because construction was deemed I don't know what it was called, the necessary business. So they stayed open and just worked with masks on. So Nate was working the 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or whatever, doing welding professionally in high-end $1 million homes. And I was at home vigorously studying because I felt that guilt of not working while Nate was working his tail off still. All of a sudden I couldn't work face-to-face with my massage clients. So I just dove headfirst into my training of rapid transformational therapy. And as I was training, I was on the computer a ton and realized that typing, my fingers were locking up and I couldn't type nearly as fast as I had used to be able to type. I didn't spend a lot of time on the computer pre-pandemic because I wasn't real techie and I was a massage therapist and I didn't have to spend a lot of time on the computer. But sitting doing the rapid transformational therapy training during COVID, I recognized, because I was spending so much time on the computer, just how crappy and crummy my hands had actually been feeling. And fast forward a little bit of time, about 4 to 6 weeks, something like that, into the pandemic, I got a phone call saying that the yoga studio that I rented my space from was having to close and they were moving out and all this stuff. Long story short, ended up needing to move out abruptly of my studio space that I had been renting. And because of that, I decided between my hands and losing or moving out of my studio space, because of that, I decided to close my doors on my massage business permanently, my thriving massage business that I loved so much, that I had so many amazing clients that I had built relationships with for years at that point. And because of that, it felt like the biggest hit to my identity. I had so much of my self-worth, my self-confidence, my self-esteem wrapped up into the work that I did. And because of that, when I all of a sudden very abruptly closed this and transitioned out of it as we were opening our steel fabrication business and beginning to start practicing as a rapid transformational therapist myself, and doing all of these new things and closing this huge chapter of my life, because of that, I ended up going into a tailspin of crazy anxiety and panic attacks for the next 5 months or so, something like that, where just debilitating panic attacks almost every single day, where I was getting sick to my stomach. And because of that, I transformed a lot and was in it for a long time and felt like crap for a long time, and came out on the other side. And because of that, I started doing more trainings, learning more about the coaching world, and learning more about how to grow my fabrication business, and learning more about tech, and more about networking, and more about all of these different facets that I have in components of my businesses now. And because of that, I was able to learn all sorts of other tech that has allowed me to create beautiful steel art and furniture with my husband. And because of that, we've been able to grow our business. And because of that, I've been able to start this podcast, and we've been able to expand our shop. We've been able to expand our property, and all of these wild, crazy, amazing transformations that have happened in the last just over 4 years now since I closed my massage therapy practice for good. And it felt like the biggest shithole transition during the time. But because of that heartache that I felt, because of the panic attacks that I went through, I became more resilient. I became stronger. I allowed myself to get to know myself. Because I was having so many panic attacks, I allowed myself to start taking better care of myself once I realized what the fuck was happening. Because for a while, I just didn't even recognize that they were panic attacks. I just thought I was constantly sick. My long story short here, even the things that we think are super hard and shitty and wish we wouldn't have had happen, they all happen for a reason. And as long as we allow ourselves to grow from these things, as long as we allow ourselves to see how we've transformed, as long as we allow ourselves to transform, then we can continue to transform and expand ourselves and expand our life. And when we think about it in this way, and when we think about making decisions for the next best thing or the next direction that we want to go, when we can come back to knowing that no matter what step we take next, we're going to learn something. It's going to allow us to propel us forward. We're going to maybe fail. Maybe it's going to be hard. Maybe it's going to be challenging, but we're going to build our resilience. We're going to build our strength. We're going to dive into the unknown. We're going to get comfortable getting uncomfortable, because no matter what, when we're taking steps, no matter how many new steps, no matter how many new things, there's always that bit of uncomfortableness, and we get to hype ourselves up. We get to remember that the magic is within inside of us, because when we remember the magic is inside of us, all of a sudden it takes a little bit of the fear out of these new amazing next steps that we get to take in our life, because we're bringing ourselves. When we can build our self-trust, our self-assurance, our self-esteem, and our self-confidence, and our self-love, when we can have a solid foundation in ourselves, it makes all of the steps, all of the movement, all of the hard things, all of the failures, all of the fuck ups so much easier. When we can trust ourselves, it allows us to bring ourselves back to ourselves, calm our nervous system, tune and tap and turn into our body, our magic, our light already within inside of us. So long story short, let's get out of the overthinking. Let's get out of the indecision. Allow yourself to take little baby steps. This is going to help us move and create, understand. It's going to help us grow. We're going to learn stuff, allowing ourselves to learn along the way, allowing ourselves to have awareness as we're moving. Notice when you feel that nervousness. Notice when you feel that indecision coming up. Notice when those words, I don't know, start coming out of your mouth, because that right there, my friend, is, like I said, the biggest cock block to your dreams is the words, I don't know. Allow yourself to get curious. Allow yourself to explore the possibilities, the best case scenario possibilities, because remember, you are bringing you with any direction you choose to go. The magic is already inside of you. And if you want to tune and tap and turn on your magic and just get it a fire lit underneath you so that you can create the next decision, the next step that's happening in your life, I am currently offering, as a little bonus, exciting, fun thing at the beginning of this podcast, I'm currently offering just one-off, one-on-one calls with me right now. Normally, I work with women in 6-week containers minimum, but this is just something fun that I wanted to do at the beginning of this podcast, and to celebrate my little baby steps as I'm creating this new, exciting, unknown, uncomfortable thing. As I'm just talking here to you, I'm pretending that you're sitting here in front of me as I'm just talking to my phone, because I'm still figuring out some of the tech things. I'm allowing myself to start messy. I'm allowing myself to start one step at a time. You'll notice, if you are here at the very beginning right now, like listening to this live, you'll notice it's only on YouTube so far. I started the podcast on YouTube early because I got that side of the tech figured out first, but audio is coming soon to Spotify and Apple Podcasts by August 20th will be the launch date, and I am so close to having the tech finalized on that stuff. And it feels so good. Allow yourself to take it one step at a time. Allow yourself to take messy action, reflect, refine, get better. Allow yourself to grow. Allow yourself to remember that the magic is within inside you already. And that's going to allow your next step to feel a little bit easier, a little bit lighter, a little bit less uncomfortable, even though you still might be uncomfortable screaming and squirming. And if you want to grab one of those seats in the one-on-one intensive coaching call to help you create a light with inside of you to take you your next action step with confidence, empowerment, and really embodying that empowerment as you are transitioning into the next best part of your life, click the link below to book your call today. And I look forward to meeting you, seeing you, and connecting with you in love, light, and so much gratitude. Peace.